welcome back. It almost feels weird doing this because Adam's always the one that does the intros, but Adam's not here today. So he's actually out in San Diego. He's going to be there for the whole month of September, but I really wanted to get an episode out and have my really good boy, Andrew Caudill, back to talk about fitness and all things like that. We had a lot of fun talking about, ways to improve your life, to make things easier when it comes to both, like resistance training, nutrition, common things to look for, sort of the big rocks to approach, the small pebbles and the sand, as we kind of put it, and the ways to sort of shape your life around health and fitness to try and make it the easiest thing possible, but also recognizing that as much as it is a physical journey, it is a mental one too. So we have a lot of discussion that's kind of all over the map, but I think in the best way possible. So yeah, thanks so much for tuning in and enjoy. So what do we... Oh man, Andy, it's really great to actually do this because
I'm really glad we can start doing this because we've been sitting up for 3 hours.
Has it really been 3 hours?
It's about we started setting up at 1:30 and it's
Really?
4:45.
It is.
But I think it's perfect. I think it looks great.
Yeah, I think it looks great. Hopefully, it was actually worth the effort.
Yeah.
Because I think kind of what I've been thinking about for us to talk about is really cool stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it should be more common knowledge than maybe it is. But I wanted to start off by talking about ways to reduce calories for general population people.
Okay.
And so I think, we've done an episode, Bone Apple Tea's done an episode on this. By the way, Adam's not here right now.
Yep.
So he's over in San Diego.
Adam.
He's still alive. We did an episode on how to reduce calories, but the reason why I wanted to bring it up with you is because you have such a practical experience training people and sort of where their pitfalls are. So what would you say in your experience is things that people kind of struggle with and maybe ways that you sort of help them navigate that?
Well, personally, so far, working with people, I found that people just have a hard time with change. People have a hard time adapting to any type of change. So that in itself is a struggle in general. So a lot of people, especially nutritionally,
right,
or in general, I guess, when people get into the fitness space, they think that they've got to do everything perfectly.
Right.
They've got to completely change everything that they're doing currently,
right,
which is not really necessary.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I definitely have a lot of people that will just be hey, what's one thing I can do? And I'm that's a better start.
That's a better start rather than being hey, it's time for me to get in shape. So now I've got to completely cut out all of the bad food that I eat. I've got to exercise 5 times a day. And that's usually where people run into a big wall. And nutrition is one of those things where people get a strike of motivation and they're okay, let me cut out red meat or cut out all meat because I watched a meat documentary and meat is bad now. So
and there's no way I could eat that.
No. So one thing that I would say to a general pop who is looking to just make a change without struggling too hard is take one thing at a time. If you've got a problem with stopping at fast food joints after work, or if you're just running around and you're super busy and the first thing that you think of is I need something quick, I need it now, you can either stop going to those, or not either, but you could stop going to those McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts or big chain restaurants for fast food,
right,
and keep if you need it, small snacks in the car,
right,
because because the normal answer that I would have said a year ago would be just completely cut cold turkey, cut out all processed foods.
Right.
You don't necessarily need it, but people are I've got clients who have been snacking for 30 years. So turning off the need to snack or the long drive and they have a snack, or it's kind of going on a long drive and having a smoke. You know what I mean?
Right,
Some
right.
people
It's
habitual. Exactly. They
Yeah.
can't even get into the car without having a cigarette.
Right.
So some people are like that with snacks. And that would be the best, or stopping out for fast food. They can't get into a car without being, or go into a part of town without stopping at this one spot that they really love. It's become a habit at that point. And that's really the biggest challenge of the general population, is because all of this stuff has just become a habit for everybody. Like
Right.
the easy lifestyle, the fast food, the, getting
Convenience
everything
to the max, pretty
exactly,
much.
getting
Yeah.
everything on demand, very like, what's the word?
Like
Instant gratification.
Instant gratification. Right.
So like it's mostly a behavior change thing. So taking one thing at a time is really the best plan of attack.
Yeah, instead of like, because kind of like you're saying is like people will get this fitness inspiration all of a sudden. And then they're like, okay, well, I better just like, okay, like you mentioned before, is like, oh, I got to cut out this. I got to do that. I got to cut this out. And it's like, if all you did was choose like, all right, I'm going to eat more vegetables, or
Mhm.
I'm going to make a conscious effort to have like a little, like some sort of protein with every meal, and just choosing one of those things. And then getting to the point where it's not even something you think about.
Right. It's easier to maintain.
Yeah. And then you can add something else.
Right. And that's
Yeah.
where like I think a lot of people run into that issue anyway, is that, when they go into they get that burst of motivation and they're like, okay, well, it's time to get rid of everything that I eat right now. That's super, super hard to maintain. And that means that like when they slip up a little bit, they really like beat themselves up about it, because it's
Yeah.
like they're like, oh, well, I completely messed up all of my progress. I might as well just stop.
Yeah.
And that's
yeah.
where like
Yep.
that's where a lot of problems come from in general. Like I had someone message me on my Facebook group today saying that like his main problem is starting and staying with it. Like he can start, but like staying with it for longer than 2 months is difficult for him. But
Right.
after a little bit of digging, it turns out like he associated with like exercise in getting in shape with like, exercising 6 to 7 days a week, or like, completely cleaning up his eating. Like that will
Right.
help. Yeah.
Of course
But if you
it does,
can't
yeah.
stick with it for longer than 2 months, what's that really helping? Not really
Yeah.
a lot.
Exactly. So it's like trying to find things that for certain, like this is easy enough to the point where you can do this forever.
Yeah.
And I think that people really, especially newbies and even experienced people, they really miss out on like sometimes less is more.
Mhm.
So like sometimes you don't need the 6-day workout week, and reducing down to 3 days a week is actually superior.
Yeah. I mean,
And-
in some cases it can be.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if we're like moving on from the nutrition thing into like just in general with general pop, like
Yeah.
if like some people can't even like make it to the gym 3 days a week, like if
Yeah,
3 days a
that's
week
true.
is a big challenge for you, then why would you just put yourself into that position? Like, yeah, man, I'm going to make it to the gym 5 days a week and I'm going to do all of this shit.
Right.
But like you would get better results if you stuck to something that you could do like 2 days a week, if that's what you could do
Right.
for 2 years, rather
Yeah.
than
Right.
like 4 or 5 days a week that kind of you're struggling, you're stressed out, you don't want to actually be there that much because it's taken away from things. And that only lasts 2 months. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like getting that like super, super hyper focus for that short period of time, committing to something that's they're in way over their head.
Yeah.
And then what happens is they start skipping days.
Yeah. And like
And
you said before, you could just add on to it.
Yeah.
Like if you
Yeah.
start low, you can build up slow.
Yeah. And I think people even underestimate 2 days a week. They're
Yeah.
like, that's nothing. I might as well not go
That's
if I can
great.
only go 2 days a week.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is like 2 days a week is actually
Pretty solid.
You can do a lot of really good work in 2 days a week. What you're not going to do is a body part split.
Right.
You're not going to be out there doing like,
Might be a little bit longer.
yeah, exactly. You might have to put in like hour and a half maybe to do like more of a full body routine. Actually, one thing, not to dive too much back into nutrition, but I did want to mention that like I feel like some of the things people overlook, like they'll say, oh, I'm only eating 1,500 calories, but they're not counting for a lot of things like cream in their coffee or oil they use to cook with, or things like this. Even like drinks, like people forget that like you have like a glass of juice and that's like 150, 200 calories.
Right.
And so things like that, I think, are really easy places for people to sort of address first that like seemingly doesn't reduce the amount of food they have to eat.
Right.
So something like cream in their coffee, if instead of using cream and sugar, they just used unsweetened almond milk, I know it's not as sweet, but it does add a sort of creaminess to it. you can add 8 ounces of almond milk and it's only 30 calories.
Right.
Whereas like each cream is 100 calories.
Right.
Or something like that. It's like 60 to 80 calories per cream.
And in the beginning, the original question was like, how can you cut calories over general?
Yeah.
Like, let's say you're eating pretty healthy, right? Like,
Right.
let's say you heard online that chicken thigh, and you're eating whole food nutrition,
Right.
but you're eating chicken thighs and you're eating ground beef every day and you're eating like ribeye steaks and you're eating butter and all this whole food technically, but it's very high calorie whole food.
Yeah.
Another way that you can still stick to a whole food diet with cutting the calories from those options or just switching for a lower fat option. You know, like some people think like, oh, well, all meat is bad. If this is what I'm eating now and it's putting me over like my fat number, it's giving me really high calories throughout the day, then it's AKA bad.
Right.
It's not necessarily bad. You can just switch out the option for something else. So if you're having chicken thighs with the skin on every day, then if you want to cut your calories a little bit and still stick to like your roots without having to like, you know, go to 1,200 calories or like go on some crazy liquid diet or some shit, you could just go to chicken breast, or if you're doing ribeye steaks, you could do like like
sirloin
steak, or sirloin steaks.
Yeah,
but those are like, when I go from a bulk to a cut, you know, I usually eat chicken thighs and ground beef on a bulk and stuff.
Yeah.
When I go to a cut, I usually eat like chicken breasts.
Yeah, like leaner cuts of meat.
Yeah, like skirt steaks and flank steaks are super lean.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, because it's like you might seemingly be eating the same volume of food, but because there's less caloric content, it sneakily keeps you full, but you're eating less calories. Right. And that is definitely something people struggle with. And I think people also kind of just like I hear people that are just getting into fitness, and I'm like, okay, well, what do you eat?
Yep.
And they wake up and they have like that bagel and cream cheese, and then they have like some crazy Starbucks drink that's like, you know, they don't even realize it's like 600 calories.
Yeah, all like sugar, carbs.
Like just sugar and like creams and, you know, whatever. And then they go to lunch, like people aren't even eating like a real meals. They're having like, you know,
the
Chef
frozen,
Boyardee, dude.
Like the frozen shits.
Yeah.
That they got the healthy choice or fit choice meals from the fucking Walmart freezer section.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was going to say Bree eats those, but I didn't want to try her fucking name. But Bree eats those. It drives me crazy, dude. Because I look at them and I'm like, you know, they're not awesome. If she only ate those, right, throughout the entirety of her day, and I know she only eats like 2 of those.
Right.
Literally under 800 calories.
Wow.
That's crazy.
For 2 of them?
For 2 of them.
Dude, so here's
under
the thing.
like 40 grams of protein.
So here's what I'm hearing when I hear that. How many times am I going to say here? Yeah. Anyways, when I hear that, I think someone thinks that's a whole meal. They eat it, they're still hungry.
Right.
They're still hungry. Right. And so now they're going to go out and they're going to try snacking on something, or they're going to like pretty much just reach for snacks.
Yeah,
and
or they think that that's a very healthy meal, right?
Right.
So
because
then
it
they're
says healthy and fit on it, or keto this. Or
and
keto
then
that.
Afterwards, they're done eating it and they're still hungry. They're like, damn, you know, that's what being healthy's like. I got to still be hungry after my meal.
Right.
And that's not fucking it.
Yeah.
You know, like, and that's a really big thing that I want to squash, because after, you know, I commented on one of the meals before. I was like, this is all you eat for lunch, bro? It's like only 15 grams of protein in the thing or something. I was like, you need more protein. And she's like, I don't need that much protein per day. I was like, the fuck you do?
My favorite is like hearing someone who has like a nutrition certification in like multiple areas and being like, what do you know?
I don't know. But it's like, it's not just her. It's like a lot of people has that like mindset. And that's the type of shit that we got to squash.
Right.
But I do think that like as time goes by and better stuff comes out, you know, like there are some people in the fitness industry who are doing really, really good things nutritionally that are sending an awesome message. And I just hope to God that people find those type of people.
Right.
You know, so like they have that other voice in their head, because like I may be a trainer and I may be certified as a nutrition coach.
Right.
But because I am like a family member to some people, they don't listen to me as a nutrition
Yeah,
coach. They
I
listen
believe
to
me.
me as like a nagging mom. type of
Yes.
thing.
Yeah, dude. I know.
And
It's
even
so
some of my
funny.
clients, like
Really?
they're just like, oh, you're my trainer. You're going to tell me that. But like they'll go seek guidance from like a dietitian who tells them the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass.
Yeah,
You're
like-
a 45-year-old fucking grown man. You can eat more than 1,500 calories without getting fat.
Right.
Like
yeah.
that's the type of shit that grinds my gears.
Yeah. Well, it's like it's tough because like when someone is also very convinced in their own head that they like have a grasp on things, like, oh, okay, I know how I should eat for me because this makes me feel good. Just show me how to do some movements.
Mhm.
Don't worry, I'll take it from there.
Yeah.
And some people even like you show them movements, they're like, I think I know how to do it better.
So, but those people though, like when you're working with like clients like that, sometimes it's better to just be like, okay, we'll take things that slow.
Yeah.
Like I do have those clients like where they're like, I know what I'm doing nutritionally. I like, this is what my body needs. And I'm like, okay, like we'll see what happens. And then we go into a strength phase and they're struggling and they're like, dude, I'm so tired. I haven't gone, like my weights haven't gone up and I'm like really pushing. I'm like, okay, let's have like 300 more calories.
Yeah.
Little bit more protein.
Yep.
And then they like come back to me in 2 weeks and they're like, okay,
yeah,
I feel a little bit better. Maybe you were right. And then in the future, as like we continue to run into those things, right? Because like sometimes I'll ask people like, hey, how are your energy levels throughout the day? How are you sleeping? Like what do you feel like when you leave the gym? Do you feel like you're like full of energy or do you feel like you just got ran over by a train?
Yeah.
And like when I ask those questions and they answer them, those are the types of things like, okay, she's either due or they are either due for an increase or they're due for a decrease.
Right.
So it's really that simple too. But like, I feel as though the really big problem nutritionally is an educational gap.
Yes.
A lot of people just don't know. And I really believe that if people understood the value of good quality nutrition and what it does for the body, there wouldn't be an obesity epidemic. Like we're yelling at people like, you're fucking lazy, you're obese, this is your fault.
Yeah.
But is it?
Yeah, I know.
Is it like, whose fault is it? We don't know. But like, I feel as though we could, as coaches, can do a better job of educating these people so they can teach themselves and teach their families and teach. Yeah. And it just goes on from there.
Dude, it's the whole like, if you just start out the conversation by like name calling someone, they didn't hear anything after you called them a name. Like that's it, like game over, So it's presenting the information in a way that's digestible is so important. And I think that in regards to nutrition and people just like navigating it for the first time, like if they're very inexperienced when it comes to nutrition, it's very daunting seemingly. But when you explain what you have to do, a lot of people are like, oh, that's it?
Yeah.
Like they think that there's something magical that other people are doing that they're not doing. Mm-hmm. And so if they only had that secret trick, and that's what all the magazines are. It's all these like, this trick. Yeah, this one thing you didn't know about. Oh, if you just cut out the rice, if you just cut out bread, you're just going to lose a ton of weight. And for some people that might be true only because they're eating tons of bread.
You're right. Like it's usually something like someone's eating a ton of bread already. And then they cut bread out and it's just like water weight they lose. And they're like, whoa. Like,
water weight. And they could have been eating 1,000 calories of bread a day. You don't even know.
And that's like, they're like, that's the answer.
Yep, it's the bread.
Is bad.
That's what it was. It was the bread.
But, I've got a lot of, even like grown ass men. I tell like, hey man, you're a 6'2" guy. You're over 200 pounds. Shouldn't be eating less than 1,500 calories. That's for sure. And they're like, what you got me eating is kind of a lot. And I'm like, what are you going to do? Get fat from eating fucking broccoli?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But I think moving forward, like if we just make a better effort to educate and like, instead of like, you didn't put your fucking macros in correctly today, like educate why the choices that they're making are bringing them discomfort now. And how the choices that they make in the future can solve that discomfort for them over the long term. And once people understand that, A, it's pretty easy and pretty
Yes.
simple.
Yeah.
And
Straightforward.
B, it takes a long time.
It
Then
does.
they get more comfortable with the idea.
Yeah. And I think the problem is we're programmed seeing all these things where it's like, oh, 12-week transformation, 6-week transformation. And it's just like all these crazy drastic transformations. Yeah. And then when people, it takes longer for them, or their progress isn't linear. Like they'll lose a little bit of weight and they go up a little bit. They're like, oh my God, I went up by 2 pounds. And it's like, well, what did you eat the other day? Well, I had a lot of pasta and I drank a lot of water and I probably ate some salty foods. Okay, well, maybe that was water weight.
Yeah, it goes up and down. It's never like weight loss is never linear. Weight gain is never linear.
Yeah. For those skinny guys out there trying to gain the weight, it takes a while.
Yeah. I can't relate.
Yeah, and I can relate too, dude. I was that 150 pound, just like
I saw pics of you when you were a kid, dude. You're a little thin kid.
I was lanky.
It's food now.
Yeah, it's food and lifting for almost 9 years at this point, and that's like
nobody talks about that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, everybody's like on Instagram, people will look at Randy and be like, "Oh, he's shredded." I wonder what's his secret. Nobody knows that it's been like 9 years of trial and error and
like
food.
Hours and hours at the gym and like really
research.
Yep, research and legitimately sucking for about the first 4 to 5.
And I think that if you didn't suck the first few years of your weightlifting journey, you didn't do it right.
Yeah,
or you just didn't have a trainer.
Yeah. It's like because like, and I think that's something to talk about too. Is that like how long it takes to actually see results. And I think people that are overweight that are looking to lose it didn't realize that it took them 10 years to gain that weight. And hey, it might take a few years to get to where you want to be because you built up this physique that is used to holding on to a certain amount of fat.
That's okay.
And that's okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And on the flip side, guys that are kind of like skinnier and they've been training for 3 years and they're like, oh, like I only gained like 10 pounds. And it's like, well, that's kind of a lot of weight.
That's, yeah. In a year, you said?
I said 3.
3 years, but still, that's crazy.
It would be
10 years.
Yeah. So, and people, I think, exaggerate like, oh yeah, but this guy gained like 40 pounds of muscle in a year. And it's like, well, it probably wasn't 40 pounds of muscle.
Yeah.
But it's like 40 pounds of muscle is freakish.
And genetics do play a
huge role. And huge role. Yeah.
And that's, at that point when we're talking about genetics, a lot of shit just goes out the window. You're kind of just dealt with you got to deal with the hand you're dealt. You know what I mean?
Right.
But regardless, it's still possible. You just got to figure out ways to do it in a healthy way without freaking pumping up on Tren.
Yes. Which we definitely want to get to later. But I want to talk about sort of kind of what we were chatting about off air here, but like, the big rocks, the pebbles in the sand of either sort of like fitness nutrition and then, I guess like fitness and nutrition.
Yep.
So big rocks, your opinion.
How many rocks? Does it matter?
Nah, it doesn't matter.
Well, the big rocks are like definitely you gotta move. So like whatever that is for you, because not everybody has the same levels. You know what I mean? You could hop right into strength training. You might not be at that level yet.
Right.
You might have to focus on, body weight training for now. But some type of strength training is necessary.
Yeah.
For long-term health and longevity, for bone health, for, just
hormone health, dude.
Hormone health. Like protection against like diseases. You know, like if you're not strong, you're fucking weak.
Yeah.
Weak things break.
Yep.
That's not a way to be. So one of those big rocks is definitely weight training, mastering proper whole food nutrition, really learning what a carb does, what fat does for your body, what protein does for your body. Once you understand that and can like put that onto a plate, that's where like a lot of your progress is going to come from. Yeah,
it's a really good point because even something as simple as protein, people will be like, oh, protein's good and like protein builds muscle, but they don't understand that like if you don't have an adequate enough amount of protein, that your body will never build muscle. And if you work out without the protein, you're just going to be tearing down your muscles and you might heal, but without that protein, it's never going to build back up. Just like, with sleep, I guess it's probably another big rock.
That was actually going to be the next rock. Sleep and recovery. So, like if you're not getting enough sleep and your sleep is like dog water right now,
love it.
Horrible.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're trying to put on size, or you're just trying to build muscle and get fit, and your body is not getting enough rest or recovery, you're running up a really, really steep hill.
Yeah.
And there's water running down.
Yeah.
And there's mud and rocks.
And you're wearing slippery shoes.
And you're wearing like rubber shoes.
Yeah. No, but it's such a good point. And I think that if there's anything that I've noticed in my lifting career is the more that I've prioritized sleep, mainly just the better I've felt.
Yeah.
Like I could probably say a bunch of stuff about like, oh, I built more muscle, or oh, this like whatever, my endurance was better or something like that.
But your lifts were better.
Yeah. It's like I legitimately just woke up the next day ready for the next day.
Definitely. And that's huge.
And the sort of muscle soreness component is much more mitigated. Like you can tell, like I've had those nights where I train really hard on a Friday, and then it's party time Friday night. And I'm drinking, I'm hanging out, we're at bars, having a good time, sleep like shit, and then I've also had the drinks. Wake up the next day, super, super sore. And it's like immediately I'm like, yeah, that was stupid.
Yeah.
It's like I just trained super hard. And then I don't know if you saw that study, but it's only like 4 drinks that will pretty much almost negate most of your actual training.
Really?
So like if you have like 4 drinks within one day and train that same day, your ability to synthesize muscle from even the nutrition that you have is going to be severely mitigated.
Oh, that's good. I never drink.
Yes. That's kind of in like my like, I mean, this kind of goes back to like how to save calories, but like if you can cut out like any alcohol as much as possible.
It's empty. And on top of that, alcohol has 7 calories per gram.
Yeah.
It's not like carbs where it has like 4 calories per gram.
Yeah.
It's not like fats that have 9, but it has 7 calories per gram. So like that's a big jump. You know what I mean?
Is.
And for someone like Christ guy, working in construction for so long, I knew so many daily, beer drinkers, AKA alcoholics.
Yeah.
And they would just pound back like, oh yeah, they would come back into work next day and be like, oh yeah, I had like 8 beers last night. That's like 1,500 calories in fucking just beer,
Yeah.
So like if you're like that and you're trying to just improve the quality of your health, just cut out the beer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The beer and
that's a really hard thing to say because alcoholism
dude, just cut out the thing that you're addicted to.
Drinking, bro. The fuck?
Come on. What are you waiting for? Duh.
Fucking beta.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
If you're struggling with something like that, I can't help you. I'm just a trainer.
Yeah, like that's definitely, and that's like it is definitely like we're laughing and we're joking here, but I guess for some people that's actually a pretty serious problem.
If that's a problem that you have, I would go get help.
Yeah.
By like Alcoholics Anonymous. But anyway, if you're like a casual drinker and you go out on the weekends and you're like, and a normal night for you is to have like 3-4 drinks, and you do that 2-3 nights a week, that's going to really add up over the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
And it's not even just beer, like
wine,
margaritas,
dude.
Wine.
People are like, they'll like, because, one glass of wine is around like 100 or something calories, right? Depending on the wine you have. But no one has 1 6-ounce glass of wine. It's always that like
always
massive
that
glass. They're almost having the whole bottle in one night kind of a situation. And they're like, I know so many like really dedicated fitness people that are drinking that much. And I'm like, look, like if you really are into like building your muscle and like being and feeling your best,
you can enjoy yourself, but chill.
Yeah, but also like, exactly, like enjoy yourself, but also realize that like, maybe there's something else you could do with that.
And understand that, even though you can enjoy yourself and have a good time, like you have to understand that there are repercussions. Calories fucking matter.
Yeah.
Like if you go out and have 4 drinks, understand that there are probably 500-600 calories that are coming along with it.
I think it's definitely something that's like people they know it.
Right.
Like someone who drinks knows. Right. Like they don't call it a beer gut for nothing.
Yes.
And so there's definitely something there. I think if just people realized how much it impacted their fitness, there'd probably be a lot less drinking in the fitness community. Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
But moving on from that. So we got big rocks. We got like.
Would you add any rocks?
So I think those are like the you mentioned like.
I mentioned
resistance training,
strength, resistance training, strength training, nutrition, and proper recovery and sleep.
Yeah.
So the last big rock that I would say, and this is a pretty big one, judging, because like a lot of people have this problem where they start a big project, let's say, right? They want to lose 200 pounds, right?
Yeah.
That's a big challenge, right? And not a lot of people are like completely aware of how big of a challenge that is. They think it's like a year fix, and because they see other people doing it in like a year and a half, maybe even 2.
Right.
And when they don't see that type of result, they're like, what am I doing wrong? You know,
On The Biggest Loser, they lost it in less than a year.
Yeah,
What's
but
wrong
those
with
people
me?
end up gaining
Always
it back.
gaining it back. Yep.
So like when you're trying to do something right, you may be going against the grain of what other people are saying. You know what I mean? Like you might be, other people might be doing juice cleanses and doing like Beachbody crazy challenges and stuff like that. But just because they lose 20-ish pounds doing something like that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to do the same. Doesn't mean that it's going to happen the same for you.
Yeah, but dude, I mean, I completely agree because like it's really discouraging mentally, and like I feel like what we don't talk about a lot in fitness is the mental challenge, which is just like being able to push yourself harder than you did before,
and for a long period of time.
Yeah, and continuously.
It's a long game.
Yeah, and continuously doing that.
And being like the mental aspect of all of this is like really it's one of the benefits of why we do this.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we don't just exercise to look awesome naked. We do it for our health.
Right.
And like part of our health is our mental health. And constantly comparing ourselves to other people who are literally just doing the same thing, doing like improving their health. That is so fucking unfair to you. And that's something that I really am passionate about in the fitness space, because when people come to me, I deal with it a lot. Mental health issues around the gym, people see like shit on TikTok and they're like, oh, like, why can't I do a pull-up yet? Or why am I not here yet? And they've only been doing it for a few months.
I know.
Like these other people, I don't like on TikTok. I don't really know them, but they could have been doing it for like 5 years before that happened.
Who knows?
Nobody knows.
And there's such like a crazy genetic variation too. It's like that whole thing where my little brother was like he deadlifted 305 pounds as a 15-year-old boy.
Right.
And that's incredible. And he didn't even appreciate how incredible that was because he's on TikTok and he sees other kids around his age lifting 500 pounds.
And they're like genetic
freaks. And it's like, and I don't mean that genetic freak in a bad way. It's just like,
it's a great thing.
It's like unbelievable that people like that exist. But the problem is in years past, you would have never known that person existed unless you saw them in a newspaper.
Yep.
But now you can see right into their everyday life. So they seem like a everyday person.
Drinking eating McDonald's and drinking milkshakes and being shredded lean and like looking awesome and lifting heavy weights, like
why can't I do that?
Why can't I do that?
Yeah.
They've been like, we don't know, like you don't personally know these people, and the fact that you're comparing yourself to them over just some shit you see on TikTok is going to be the death of you.
Yeah.
So like that is definitely my 4 rocks. Strength training has got to be up in there. Whole food nutrition, the consistent concept of the basics, mental health, and what was the other one? Sleep and recovery.
Yep.
Those are
I think
definitely the big rocks.
And I think that's really great. I think in the fitness fanatic world, sometimes what happens is you get people with their mental health issues sort of coming up with being too perfect all the time. So this is kind of like the opposite problem of someone who struggles by eating too much, is that like you'll have someone and they have like a nice family barbecue and they go into it thinking, I'm going to be okay having a little bit of a barbecue with my family and maybe having a slice of cake, and I'll be fine. And then they do it, and it really impacts them. And they start thinking they have to like really beat themselves up, like they did something really terrible, and that like they're gonna have to starve themselves and all these crazy things. I mean, I saw this girl on her fitness page. She went out and she had some fun with her friends on like one weekend night, and she like ate more than she usually does. She like got a milkshake and she drank and she danced, and she supposedly had a great time, and she was crying on her story which I think is, it's interesting that you put that out there anyway, but to me just so sad that she thinks that she really messed up her life by just having like
enjoying herself.
Yeah, by just living in the moment. Like if you're that consistent and if you're that great, like she's in great shape, the girl that I'm talking about, and having those days where you just like enjoy yourself, like do it, man.
It's good for you.
It's good for you. Like
Healthy.
that's part of it. Like, is it the most optimal for your health? Like, probably not to binge drink and eat a ton of food. But like,
Depending on the person, maybe.
yeah.
You know,
and like
like-
that's the thing is like if you're too uptight that you can't even go out to a restaurant with your friends in fear of overeating a little bit
What's the
that day.
point?
Yeah, like what are you doing?
Like that kind of thing takes away from just enjoying a healthy life. You know,
Right.
healthy isn't like taking yourself out of situations that you enjoy
Right.
for an aesthetic based goal. You know
Yeah,
what I
for
mean?
like that magazine look.
Right. And
you
I've
know?
got some clients who actually have gone through that same issue.
Mm.
And I would actually prescribe them like, hey, if your friends are doing anything this weekend, I want you to go hang out with them. You know,
Yeah.
like if they're
I think yeah.
if they're
That's
out
cool.
and you're having drinks or something, because she's a sociable chick, you know, the
Yeah.
individual I'm talking or
Yeah.
referring about. She's a social chick, and she would have like big issues when she would go out with her friends and her friends offer her drinks. And she's like, oh no, I can't. Yes, you
Mm.
can.
You can.
You can have them,
Yeah.
but like, don't beat yourself up about it. If you put
Yeah.
the mental like barricade around it, like I cannot do that. Anything that you do around that, you're like, well, I'm bad.
Right.
Right?
Like it's a negative
it's a
thing to just
punishment
like have like an okay like a relaxed moment.
Right. So like take the fucking word can't right out of there
Mm.
and just be like, you know, I just don't want to.
Yeah.
You know, like if you don't want to drink because you're trying to reach a goal, that is okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
But don't put the mental barrier around yourself saying that I can't. Just say that, no, I don't want it. And if
Yeah.
you do want it, fucking have it.
yeah.
Like
yeah.
it's
And it's like to a certain extent, right? Because there's like,
right.
we understand that like there needs to be control if you're trying to reach a certain goal.
Yeah.
But it also doesn't mean that like every once in a while you go out with your friends, like you can have a burger. You
Right.
know, like
Have
the
you ever heard of the 80-20 principle? It's very common.
Yeah, yeah. Like 80% of the results. And
You can
like,
do
yeah.
That like applies to everything in the world.
Yeah.
Literally everything in the world.
Yeah.
So take that same principle and apply it to your like diet. You know, like
Right.
you should be pretty on top of like what you should be having every day.
Right.
You know, if you got an appearance-based goal, you want to lose fat so you can get into your wedding dress or something. Like
Yeah,
you're going on vacation in 2 years and you want to look great.
Yeah.
There is going to be some like tracking. there.
Yeah.
You
There's
need
going to be
to
some
stay pretty
commitment, some
consistent.
dedication.
Yes,
And yeah,
there's
yeah,
going
of
to be
course.
hard times. I'm not saying like, oh yeah, anytime you want to have 5 guys and a fucking milkshakes, go
Just
right
have
ahead.
it.
Yeah,
Woo,
just have it.
yeah.
Fuck it.
yeah, yeah.
You still need to be pretty consistent in relation to your goal.
Right.
But 20% of the time, and I'm talking like out of the fucking year, people
Yeah.
like 80-20, all right, every fucking weekend have like crazy
Yeah.
food.
And that's a huge mistake because if you do go crazy every single weekend, all of a sudden, all of that deficit tracking that you did during the week is out the window.
Goes out.
Yeah.
So the 80-20 principle, if we're thinking like 80% of the time of the year, you're pretty damn consistent, but the other 20%, have a good time.
yeah.
When you're at your best friend's fucking wedding, have a drink, like
Yeah.
have a beer with them.
Yeah,
have
celebrate.
some of the cake. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You're at your daughter's birthday party. Have the cake. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You're
Yeah.
out to dinner with your significant other for your anniversary. Eat what you want. Have
Yeah.
dessert with her. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, there needs to be like some sort of
balance.
balance. Exactly.
you know what I mean? And that's
Yeah.
the 80-20 thing. You know,
Yeah.
like even though 80% of it, you have to be pretty decent with what you're doing. The other 20% balances it out. Makes it like not fucking suck so bad.
Yeah. I mean, dude, even when I am getting as lean as I like to get for certain looks.
You face bowls of fucking cereal.
Yes, dude. I do. Bowls of cereal. And I'm having like almost consistently, I'm like slightly addicted to Oreos. I'll have 2 Oreos every single
Ever
day.
since I've known you and Adam, bro, like Oreos, fucking cereal, ice cream.
Yeah.
But you guys make it a point. Like it's usually when I see you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I bet you're not doing that all the time.
No,
You know what I mean?
no.
Like every night of the week, are you facing a bowl of cereal, having
Absolutely
Oreos,
not.
cookies?
No.
But I know you to be that guy who enjoys a good meal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
that's the way to be. You
Give me
know,
a good
I
ice cream
don't,
cone, you know?
you're not the guy. And like some people, they have different goals. You know, I
Yeah.
can't really rash on them, but you are not the guy who's like, nah, man, I got my Tupperware with me. You know, we can't go out
Yes.
to eat tonight because
Yeah,
I'm
we
like,
can't.
got
And-
prep here.
Yeah, and that's the thing too is like if you are trying to be consistent, but you still want to have a good time with your friends, it's very possible to go out to a restaurant and navigate the menu such that like you might be going a little out, but not too much.
Right.
You know, like as generic as it is, like sticking to like a leafy green salad with some protein on it might be a way that you can still go out and reduce your calories as long as you're not using too much dressing.
And it's
you know,
like if you had a day that like, you know, you had a burger earlier that day and you had a big breakfast and like that's what you can afford, instead of being like, oh no, you know, I'm low on calories for the night, I'm not going to go out to dinner and hang out with my friends. Just go, maybe don't get a drink, maybe get some seltzer water or something with some lime. You know, that's a great option to have. And then get a salad with some protein on it. You know what I mean? That way you still enjoy the time with your friends. You're still eating with them. You can still enjoy your meal with your friends. And nobody's going to be like, oh, you know, like fucking Randy doesn't want to hang out with us because he's too busy eating fucking plain chicken and rice.
Yeah, exactly. And that is definitely a huge part that like people think like if they're getting into fitness, they get scared like they can't do anything anymore. And it's like, no, you can. It's just some of the choices that you make might be a little bit different. And I mean, of course, like with me, like I've gone out to dinner and I'll get a salad with like something on it or like a leaner meal. And then someone's like, oh, Randy, you want to have one of my fries? And I'm like, no, I'm good. And they're like, oh, look at this guy. He can't even have a fry. And it's like, you just got to lean into it. It's like, you know, oh, yeah, I can.
I just don't want your you know, stupid fry.
You don't want your damn fry.
Keep your fry.
It's
but
like,
anyway.
Yeah.
But what about like the smaller rocks?
Yeah. So the smaller rocks. So it's funny. I say it's a smaller rock, but I think it's almost like a medium rock, but it's solid programming for resistance training. So it's like getting into resistance training is great. And that's such a big step and a really big rock. But fine tuning your programming is usually something that like you would go to you for.
100%
or you would, you know, like some sort of trainer who's actually skilled and is like putting an emphasis on like the really core movements like squatting, like deadlifting, like overhead pressing, and all these movements that I think are like essential to human movement. And I think, you know, people out there, I think there's this like really popular thing that's kind of happening where it's like, you don't need to squat, you can just do whatever. And I get that. Like, of course you don't need to squat, but if you can get really good at a squatting motion, it makes your life easier. I mean, we sit up, sit down. That's a big reason why the elderly, if they fall on their hip, it breaks because they haven't been using their hip muscles at all. And we know that if you're not using the muscles, your bones are going to atrophy. So it's like, these things are actually important. And some people really struggle with form with squat, and that's where like a trainer is super helpful.
Right. And I think to piggyback off of that this may be like very probably even the same thing, but mobility, that's big. Like that could be like your trainer programs that into you for your programming side of the smaller rock. But I think mobility deserves its own rock because not a lot of people prioritize it.
Well, I think mobility is stretching. They think that I said people will generally associate mobility with like, oh, I'm really flexible.
Right.
You know,
and like just because you're flexible doesn't mean that you're strong.
Right.
Like you can be flexible, but so is like a rubber band.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's kind of strong, but eventually it does break. The more you bend it, it does break. It's like a stick.
Yeah.
You know, it probably has got a little bit of give, maybe like kind of flexible, but eventually you might snap.
Yeah.
Being mobile is different. You know, being mobile is you're moving yourself. Being flexible is you're being moved. So the ability to move yourself is definitely like it deserves its own rock because a lot of people do get into the strength training. A lot of people do get a personal trainer who might not know proper mobility practices.
Right.
And they get into this like strength training thing and they're doing great and they feel strong. And then all of a sudden, boom, knee pain or like boom, shoulder pain.
Oh, I got low back pain.
Yeah, exactly. So something happens down the road and that's a result of like a lot of things, ton of factors.
Yeah.
But what's important is that I think that people should understand that they have an opportunity or the ability rather to, you know, avoid that. Injury is inevitable, right? We cannot ever protect ourselves fully from injury because we never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's an
you know
accident.
what I mean? Like you can slip, rock falls on you, boulder falls on you, whatever happens.
Yeah, dude, you drop something. Yeah, you drop something in the shower and you go to turn around and grab it and you tweak your back.
Tweak your back.
Yeah.
One of my clients or one of my older clients actually, like she was 35-ish, bent down to get a sock, tweaked her back.
Sure, she appreciates that
Cool.
older client comment at 35. Sorry.
That just shows my age.
Yeah, it does. I have this friggin' older woman.
Client, fucking 35. How the hell she's still lifted? Threw her back out.
Yeah, threw her back out.
But
yeah, sorry.
yeah, you know, like we can protect ourselves from that. You know, like through the way that we move, through the way that we treat our joints.
Yeah.
You know, if you treated your mobility like your ankle mobility and your knee mobility and like fucking hip mobility with the same seriousness and drive that you put towards your squats, would you have shitty knees? Would you have a shitty low back?
Yeah, would you need to use knee wraps, dude?
Exactly.
People start getting knee pain. They're like, all right, time to
Knee
wrap it up.
wraps, or like it's not even a knee wrap, like a knee brace. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like they're literally putting like a crutch
cast
on their knee.
on their fucking knee.
Yeah.
So like, those are the types of things that we want to stray away from. And like literally, it's because of those types of people like who get knee pain and they throw their knee in a knee sleeve. That's why I got into the mobility thing.
Yeah.
Because it makes no sense to me. Like, why would you throw yourself? It's like putting a Band-Aid on a broken bone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Doesn't
you're
make
not
any sense.
really solving the problem. You know, like if there was some tissue breaking on the top, maybe you'll solve that problem. But deep down, you're not doing much.
Yeah. Like there's a reason the knee pain is there.
Exactly.
And if you're just working through it and you're like, oh, instead of addressing why the pain is happening,
slap a fucking wrap on there.
Yeah.
That'll keep it. It doesn't hurt when I'm wearing it, but when I take it off, hurts.
Yep. And then you go to do anything without the knee brace.
Right.
And like,
or people go the physical therapy route or the chiropractor route. And like that may help. Yes.
Yeah.
But the thing with like chiropractors and physical therapists, and no hate to PTs or chiros, because they, you know, definitely are great.
Yeah. There's a time and place for them.
They get the people to work as they did before.
Yeah.
But that's what like got them injured.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Like they're not actually like correcting a problem.
Right. We're not strengthening the issue. They make it so that they can move and like they can kind of manage, but then they don't like nothing really happens after that. And then people are just kind of like forced to go off on their own. Like, okay, well, I got a squat now, but I had a past knee injury. So what the hell do I do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mobility is something that can be like, okay, well, I got a past knee injury. I can still move my knee. I can't do a full squat. But over time, maybe I can get it lower. And that's just how things happen. If you pay attention to something like that and you really make it a point to focus on that mobility to improve whatever the hell you're doing, it could be squatting, it could be hiking, it could be fucking walking up the road.
Yeah.
But if you make it a point to focus on the mobility that allows for that to happen, the better results you'll have, the less risk of injury you'll have, and the stronger and more free your movement will be.
Yeah. I mean, I think if there's one thing that I've learned from doing the mobility that you've prescribed for me is that when I am consistent with especially the ankle stuff, like actually doing ankle cars, I don't get calf pain.
Not calf pain. You don't
and it goes up to your knee too, dude.
It does?
It drives up to your knee is like how tight my calves are if I'm not consistent with like even doing like combat stretch and the ankle cars. If I do that, it's like a whole world of a difference. And I make sure to do it, especially after traveling. So if like I'm on a plane for a while and I'm in like one friggin' position the whole time, I'll get off the plane and start doing ankle cars just to like try and.
Sitting on the plane.
Yeah, yeah. Got an aisle seat. You know?
Right. I don't, shows you how much I ride in planes.
Yep.
But like, and that's just from fucking keeping it moving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you introduce something like Pales Rails,
right,
and like something that really challenged you in your end range, you know, the difference over time, over weeks or months, like is extravagant.
Yeah.
You know, like
that hip flexor one that you showed me a while ago where you're like you have one knee up and one knee on the ground and you like try and or squeeze the floor together and then push it apart.
Yeah.
If I'm actually consistent with that, and if I'm not, I'll say this first, if I'm not consistent with it, I'll notice it when I go to squat, I'll get that sort of hip flexor tightness when I squat. And then I'll be like, oh crap, I need to actually do that thing that Andy showed me how to do. And then I'll do that for a few days. And I'm like, oh, well, once you look at that, like
started to
no more pain. It starts going away. And it just shows how like just such little effort on a daily basis can really help you out.
And that's why I think it's one of those small rocks, because I believe it's in the power of the people.
Yeah.
Not like the power of the PT. It's not the power of the chiro. It's not the power of the fucking knee sleeve.
Right, right.
Like you have the ability to work on that type of thing. If your movement sucks, that's your fault.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
and it may not be your fault. You know,
Yeah.
it may be like the way you fucking sit at work.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you can change that.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like you can combat that somehow. And if you're in a place where like your back pain is at a point where you're like, oh man, or your knee pain is at a point where you're like, oh, I can't even squat to the floor anymore. I used to be able to, but
or I can't squat at all anymore. People will be like, oh, my knees hurt, so I can't squat anymore. Like, that's it.
It sucks to hear, but you let it get that way.
Yeah.
You know, like whether you got injured or not, you still have a choice.
Yeah.
You can have pain-free and strong movement, no matter the injury, no matter the situation. It just takes time and effort. Just like, you know, being fucking ripped.
Yeah.
You know, it takes time and attention.
Yeah. And I think the thing is too with mobility specifically is that for so long it was kind of like a mystery, you know, like, oh, is it just stretching? Oh, is it this? And I think what's nice now, especially what we're doing now, like this very second, is that like trying to make that information more common knowledge. Yeah. Because sometimes people just think they have knee pain and that's it. Like, I just have knee pain now. And they don't even know that, oh my God, if I do this on a daily basis, I can change that. Yeah. I couldn't convince my dad of that. Yeah. That was impossible. That's like, one of those that's one of those things where it's like your parents again view you as the kid, like, oh, Randy, sure, I'm sure if I did that, I would get, you know.
And it is kind of like a new thing. Like
it is.
FRC and the stuff that I practice, it came out within the last like 10 years. Yeah. So like it's hard to really hammer that into somebody without showing them a result. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's plenty of results from FRC. They work with Nike. They work with On It. They work with the UFC. Like big names. And
it's not just like a little thing.
Yeah. No, and it's proven scientific stuff. But people hear from their doctor like, oh yeah, you know, like don't squat.
Yeah.
They're like, can't fucking squat anymore.
Yeah, dude. Like, I really think there's going to be a change with doctors pretty soon because like my buddy Ryan, who's going into
advice.
Yeah, like I think what's going to happen is like there's going to be some sort of switch where like our generation is now the doctors, and hopefully those people are more knowledgeable about like fitness and training.
They will be,
and I really believe that at some point in time, what's going to happen is you're going to go to a doctor, and instead of prescribing you pills or telling you not to do something, they're going to prescribe you
movement,
a movement, and or like a personal trainer. Like maybe they don't have the qualifications to say this, but they said, hey, like we're a hospital, we work with these trainers. Like here's a list of people that you can choose from in your area. Like this is your prescription. Like go work with them.
And although like we wish for that to happen, it's also up to us.
Yeah, it's
like,
true too.
You know, like connecting with those types of people, because if they don't know, you know, like they don't know.
Yeah.
They can't, like, if they're like stuck in their ways as doctors, and if you're that way, freaking pray for you.
Yeah.
But like things have changed, you know, like although you're a doctor, maybe things aren't the same way that they were 30 years ago, you know, especially longtime doctors.
Yes.
And that's usually who like a lot of my clients see, like older doctors than they are, or like older people than they are.
Yeah.
And like this 80-year-old dude is like, well, like can't even freaking hold himself up hardly anymore because he's 80.
Yep.
And he's like, you can't exercise.
Yeah, don't exercise or else, you know, you're
going to get hurt.
Yeah, dude, I had this guy at the gym. I was doing walking lunges, and he came up to me and he's like, hey, I saw you doing walking lunges. Like, I just want to let you know, like, you don't ever want to do that.
I remember you telling me that.
And I remember like thinking like, oh, like why? Like, what's your reasoning? I think walking lunges are like one of the best movements you can possibly do. And he's like, oh, well, a long time ago, I hurt my back and it's never been the same. And I was like, oh, like, I don't know how to like, I didn't even know how to articulate like, okay, well, number one, you can fix that because
the world's smallest violin.
Yeah. And then number two, like walking lunges are great. I would have loved to have seen how you injured yourself, because I can only imagine you using weights that you couldn't handle and you're just like crappy form, just like swinging them around and doing crazy stuff and not being really conscious about like the actual movement and form of what you're doing, which is so important. Yeah. And if you do it right, is incredibly helpful. I mean, like being able to lunge, I think is up there as far as I know.
Being able to lunge, squat, freaking push, pull. It's all important.
Yeah.
But I heard this on the podcast that I was listening to the other day. It fucking like stuck with me. Sometimes it takes a nightmare to wake you up.
Ooh.
Hurts you in the soul.
Yeah, that does.
But
It's so
sometimes
true.
it's really fucking true. Like,
Dude,
especially with injury. Like,
dude, when
your
I
shoulder.
injured my shoulder,
Yep.
and I that was a very big wake up call for my benching form.
Yeah.
Where I legitimately was just benching with my elbows out to the side, telling myself that I wasn't, and I was doing way too difficult of workouts. I was more is better, and like, you know, just throwing everything at myself, thinking I was going to get bigger, and I screwed myself up. And then it took me a year to even get back to some semblance of what I used to be. But because that all happened, I grew better because I had better form. I had better practices. I wasn't beating myself up 6 days a week for no reason.
Yep.
Just doing these like absolutely insane workouts.
Same thing with my deadlift.
Yeah.
You know, remember the time I threw out my back?
I do remember that. Yeah, dude.
And, you know, I still struggle with like things from that time. You know, sometimes my piriformis gets super tight. But I feel that now and I'm like, okay, I'll stretch it a little bit. I'll do some of this. I'll do some of that.
Yeah.
I'll deadlift right fucking after. And bada bing, bada boom. What don't I have anymore? Pain. Because I'm doing it right. Doing it. I took the time to teach my body how to do it right.
Yeah.
Things are very, very fucking safe when you do it correctly. But when you do it incorrectly, that's when things really start to go downhill.
Yeah.
But what's another small rock?
I was gonna say supplementation.
I was gonna say that's more like even smaller.
Sand. Yeah, sand.
Yeah, like, so we talked about mobility.
Right.
We talked about, what was the other thing?
Good like programming.
Good program.
So good programming, mobility. I would say like maybe a smaller rock is like really fine tuning, like calories. You know, like I know it's a really big rock, calories. You know, calories are king, but like
whole food nutrition is the big rock.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's like, okay, so now let's get into some of the finer things about nutrition.
You know what? And that being said, I would say that one of the smaller rocks, instead of just calories, I would say macros.
Yeah.
So like, you know, if your diet is full of like a bunch of Wendy's and Dunkin' Donuts and eating out all the time, whole food nutrition, switching to that is a great place to start.
Yes.
But that's not going to last you forever. You know, you could be eating whole food nutrition like grapes and chicken and, you know, rice and whatever else, but only be eating 800 calories.
Yeah.
You know, that's not, you may be eating whole food nutrition and that's fantastic.
Yeah.
But you need to eat what your body needs. So figuring out what your body needs. And I guess that goes back to like the educational gap of the health thing.
And I think that's kind of like, you know, I think that's still pretty big rocks. I think like when you're saying macros being the smaller rock, I think that's pretty key because like, let's say like having adequate protein intake and correct calories is like absolute max. Rock. And then you have like manipulation of fats and carbs being the smaller one. Yeah. And I think for like most people, it's like, get yourself in a caloric range with the correct amount of protein with like some healthy whole natural foods. Biggest thing that you can tackle. Yeah. And then it's like, okay, well now if you want to know if you have more carbs than you do fats, you're actually going to perform better in the gym and you're going to synthesize more muscle out of the protein you have because in the absence of carbs, your body struggles to build muscle with just protein and fats, and it just happens to build it better.
Which goes back to the educational gap. But macros in general is like knowing the difference of like what the proteins and the fats and the carbs do.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. Like, definitely focusing on the proteins and the calorie part of it and getting in like good whole food quality nutrition
as much as you can.
And then once you've kind of mastered that, like the basics, then that's when you can go into like, all right, well, I'm going to manipulate my carbs and fats a little bit to like, because everybody is different. You know, people like, especially like losing weight or gaining muscle or performance, you know what I mean? Any of those, it's all different.
Yeah.
So like some people who are eating a ton of carbs and eating low fat and moderate protein, that may put weight on them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But slightly modifying their carbs and fats, that might tick something where boom, fat loss or boom, muscle gain or something.
Yeah. And it might be because they're able to stick to that eating habits a little more consistently.
Anything. But it's like, it's that that formula. And that is where like hiring a trainer or a nutrition coach is super valuable, because like when you do that, that's kind of a tough time if you don't understand what's going on.
We kind of made it seem like it was almost
It's
easy
fucking bad easy.
Yeah, dude. So just whatever you do, just get really, just get really good at manipulating your calories and getting the correct protein while eating nutritious foods. And for a lot of people, that right there, that big rock takes like a few years.
Yeah, that's a big rock to like swallow.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, so yes, after that huge step, of course, we can start like looking at the finer macros and manipulations to like within your eating. Cause it's like, we can say, oh yeah, manipulate your carbs, but like, what does that translate to food? Yeah. And for a lot of people, that's very different. Like some people don't like to have, white rice or something. And so you might have to like finagle some sort of manipulation with other foods to help get them in those macro ranges.
Yeah. Or
and
like eggs.
Yeah.
A lot of people just don't like eggs.
Yes,
so
I know.
If you don't have eggs for breakfast, not a lot of other breakfast foods that I would think to like have a ton of protein.
I know. I think
whole foods.
Yeah, I think when I think that, I start thinking about yogurt. But like yogurt, it's like not everyone likes yogurt. Yeah, and then it's like it becomes more and more challenging to try and like help someone out in that aspect.
I definitely understand what you're saying, and that's one of the smaller rocks, but it's a rock that you have to get over after you've gotten over the big rock. Yeah, nutritionally,
exactly.
And that's 3 small rocks.
Yeah.
Right. So like, what about the sand?
So I think we can go into supplementation.
Yeah.
And I think supplementation is definitely on the lower rung of things. I definitely think that people will also go too far with supplements and say that like they don't matter at all. But for me personally, address the whole natural foods, address the calories, understand your macros. And then it's like, okay, but at the same token, if you're really struggling getting in enough protein, like a protein shake is helpful, and if you're, vegan or whatever, they do make really great, like full spectrum protein vegan shakes. Yep. And so that can be a way that you can get in good protein. And I think this is especially important for the elderly where as you age, we get lower levels of growth hormones. So our ability to synthesize muscle with the protein, the intake that we have gets less and less and less. Yes. And the only way to counteract that is to eat more protein. And now you're looking at an old person where eating more and more food is actually kind of challenging, and they don't necessarily want to add more calories.
And the activity level is lower.
And so it becomes a point where it's like, okay, now a protein shake really makes sense.
Yes.
Because we're able to kind of tip the scales in favor of like, not even building muscle for the elderly, but holding on to the muscle that is healthy for them to have.
Which is huge.
And so that's I think a protein shake ends up being probably for me, like top tier supplement for most people. Creatine. Yeah. Creatine being number 2. And that's mainly because like no one's eating 2 pounds of steak every day to get 5 grams of creatine.
That's right.
And,
or salmon.
Exactly. And it's like, okay, so that makes sense to supplement with that. And you get mental benefits, you get muscular endurance benefits, you get energy benefits. It's like we're learning more and more about creatine where it's less like people still talk about creatine like it is a steroid.
A new thing. It's both.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People talk about it like it's a steroid. People are also talking about it like it's just coming out. You know what I mean? Like they're figuring out more about creatine where they're like, dude, check this thing out.
Yeah.
But it's like one of the most studied supplements out there.
Yeah.
And in a world of supplements where things aren't FDA certified and things are very uncertain with like what you're getting in your shit.
Yeah.
Creatine is something that you can feel safe about consuming. You know what I mean? It's backed by science. You're not going to put on like 1 million pounds of muscle by taking creatine. Maybe someday, but if you take it often enough. But like, I definitely think that it's a protein, creatine. I'm really not huge on supplements.
I know. This is so. I would say I would either toss up a multivitamin in there, or for me personally, do green juice, because I know people, even more so than a multivitamin, which someone could debate me on that, and that's totally fine. It's just, I feel like most people really don't eat enough greens, and having some sort of green juice is just you don't get the fiber, right? So you are missing out on the fiber component of vegetables when you just have the green juice, right? But at least you're adding more greens to your diet very easily.
And that kind of ties in with like the whole food nutrition thing. Like,
yeah.
This is the thing. Like if you're trying hard to get in enough greens
Yeah.
through whole food nutrition, you could also add in a green juice if you're not
Yeah.
getting in that limit, or like a multivitamin, like you
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
I would even say like fish oil might be up there, like omega-3s are like important.
Yeah.
Or krill oil, you get the 3 and 6s, because not a lot of people love fish.
Yeah, it's true.
So-
I've realized that actually more and more, that like I eat salmon a lot
Yeah.
because it comes in the butcher box.
And it
so
tastes good.
And it tastes good.
Yeah.
But not everyone likes salmon. So a fish oil pill is actually very effective for
Yeah.
those people.
And like, you know, you can totally eat grass-fed ground beef, but that's
Right.
like something, if you're already getting in some fish oil, that's a good thing to have.
Yeah.
But it's not, it's like trying to get in fish oil or like omega-3s and 6s from grass-fed ground beef. It's like trying to get your protein in from peanut butter.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah,
it's good to have, but not a lot of people like the fish. So fish oil would definitely be up there. Does that mean you have to take a huge pill cocktail every day? No.
No.
You know, but
Don't have to, no.
if you're not getting the stuff in that you need to from whole food nutrition, then I think those would be a good addition. Like,
Yeah.
and that's where the supplement name comes from. It's
Yeah.
a supplement. It's
Yes.
not like the main component of your thing. It should really just add to what you're doing
Exactly.
and have a positive effect on that.
Yeah, that's why I'm
like
not
trend.
I'm not a like
I'm
trend.
kidding. You know, you may be working out, but
Yeah.
you get buff.
Yeah. Yeah, how are we doing on time? Good. So I think I agree with everything you just said. And I think it's like, it's one of those things, it's like really the last thing you should think about. There is the importance of having a protein shake, but the protein shake shouldn't be a meal replacement. I really hate meal replacement shakes and juice diets. I really think those got to go. I'm still hearing about them. I was at when I did the Six Flags shoot, people were talking about like things that they did to lose weight.
Yeah.
And because I'm with a bunch of models, and they're all like, oh yeah, like my friend went on a juice cleanse diet and lost like 10 pounds in a week. I'm like, that sounds terrible.
Sucks.
That
Yeah.
sounds like she was
How's
number
she doing
one.
now?
Yeah, exactly. like suffering and legitimately unhealthy for you.
Yeah, that's tough.
And but the problem is there's that association with like losing weight and it guaranteeing like health. You know, like, oh, okay, they lost 10 pounds, so it must have been a really healthy diet. Yep. Oh yeah, juice cleanse was healthy. Yeah, lost 10 pounds.
Yep.
So
throwing up a lot will fucking make you lose weight too. But is that healthy? No.
But no, absolutely not. And but yeah, so I think that about covers it. I think in terms of like, unless
What about HIIT?
Oh, HIIT. Oh God, don't even get me started, dude.
HIIT training.
Yeah, dude. Like all these. So that's the thing is like people think that like HIIT is going to be like the next greatest thing for them to lose weight. Like they have, oh my God, I couldn't lose weight until I started doing HIIT.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not the case. I am not a fan of HIIT cardio. And I think it's mainly because most people aren't even doing HIIT cardio. They're just like slinging weights around and just doing like jumping jacks and then just like calling it a day, or just like a bunch of squats in a row and then jumping jacks and like, all right, I did my HIIT cardio. And like, number one, that's not even proper HIIT cardio. Yeah. And then number two, like you would be better off doing something that's safer, where you're not throwing weights around and you're not just like jumping up and down when you can barely do a regular squat as it is, and just going for a walk.
Yeah.
You know, like
and that, like, I think that HIIT is so appealing to people is because, well, the way that fitness has been portrayed through the media, you know what I mean? Like, you know, like sweat, hard work, fucking grit, fucking HIIT, fucking sick and press. It's all things that are like painted to what fitness is supposed to look like.
Right.
So
like hard, challenging.
People do fucking HIIT and they are like in 20 minutes, they're sweating and they're breathing hard and their fucking ass hurts and their ankles hurt and their knees hurt.
Like,
and
it must have been working.
This is a good workout.
Yeah.
It's not. You know, it's just because it may be a good workout doesn't mean it's a good workout for you.
Yeah.
And some people only do HIIT. They're like, oh, well, I don't have time to do anything else. So I do HIIT to get it in a short amount of time.
Yes, dude. Yep.
But like, are you really doing anything? You're just moving. And like a lot of the people who do HIIT just to move, you know, you see their form and it's like squatting up and down, knees caving in. The problem with that is that Faster is not fucking better.
Yep.
More stuff is not better.
Yep.
Less time to do those two things is not better.
Yeah, it's like a recipe for disaster for a lot of people. It reminds me of like CrossFit, which is like, you know, which is actually wicked funny. You had that post on your page just absolutely explode and blow up. Actually, could you talk about that real quick? Because that was pretty funny.
Well, I'll go into the CrossFit thing after capping this off.
Oh yeah, cap the head off.
Like CrossFit, HIIT is okay if you have a steady foundation.
Yeah.
If you know how to squat well, you know how to move well, and everything is moving as it should be, then a HIIT workout is not gonna fucking kill you.
Right.
It's not.
Correct.
It's better than sitting on the fucking couch.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think HIIT done correctly for certain people
is okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like CrossFit, you know, like some people, they move well. They can throw 300-400 pounds over their head, look like a badass, throw it up, catch it behind them, do a backflip,
whatever it is.
But they have trained, they have built the prerequisites, they can do it.
Yeah.
People who are just trying to get fucking healthy, going into a CrossFit class, being like, this is what I should be doing.
I'm in pain. I'm sweating.
Like it's not. That is not what needs to be done if you're like just trying to live a healthy life. And the meme that Randy was just talking about is that it was like, you know, people just trying to live a healthy life. And this old lady was there with a knife behind her back. And the old lady was labeled CrossFit and the knife was labeled joint pain. So it's like, it comes off really looking cool. Like, oh yeah, let me get all fucking healthy. And then all of a sudden, bam, knee pain. Or bam, shoulder pain.
I had a boss of mine broke his arm because he was doing box jumps and he gets tired, obviously. And he goes to jump onto the box and he's tired and he can't jump high enough. He slips, falls, friggin' breaks his arm. And I'm like, not needed.
A lot. So like the reason why and like the caption that followed that post, which is like really what it's about, is like those things are okay. Box jumps are cool.
Right.
Fucking clean and jerks are cool. Like I wish I could do that shit. I can't. Do I do CrossFit? No.
Yeah.
But I fucking know that. I don't, you don't see me going trying to clean and jerk.
Yeah.
It's just flawed. You know what I mean? The programming is flawed with CrossFit. Like at least nobody should be doing 100 fucking box jumps in a row.
Yeah.
No fucking way.
Yeah.
That's a plyometric exercise. That should be done in reps of like 4.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
4 or 5, maybe 10. Maybe 10.
That's like,
and that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Because like maximum effort power movements are meant to be done very small reps.
Perfect form.
Yeah.
So
it's like the pinnacle of resistance training is
so
power
doing
training.
that 100 reps and you get fatigued and like all of this shit and you're jumping up and down and then you're getting tired. The reps get worse.
Yeah.
The muscles that you're using go to different muscles if like your body is getting fatigued. Like let's say you have imbalances, right? And you're trying to jump up on a box and your knees cave in like wicked whenever you squat down.
Yeah.
I know I have like 5 clients who do that right now or came back from a CrossFit class and they're like, oh, my knees cave in and they're always hurting after box jumps. Well, no shit.
Yeah.
You know, you're pushing off of those muscles. It makes no fucking sense. And to top it all off, usually there's like what, 10, 15 people in these classes.
And there's no way you can keep track of it, dude. My favorite is looking, I mean, I don't want to say my favorite because like I also don't like seeing it.
Yes, it sucks.
But it's like they will do an Instagram story. And also, could you reset my my camera? They'll do an Instagram story and they'll be panning around to like people, you know, and they'll show like
fucking like shrimp.
Yeah, dude, they're like panning around like, oh, look at our awesome CrossFit class. And there's one person, there's one person doing like a clean and jerk, and it looks like the craziest thing you've ever seen. And you're like, oh my God, no, please stop.
Tell
like
that
stop
chick
the
to
video.
Stop.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. And it's like 1 or 2 coaches. And like, granted, it is hard to watch a fucking room full of full-grown adults.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Why fucking do it?
Yeah, what are we doing? If you can't accurately coach someone through something safely, then why are we doing?
Or have like a pre-CrossFit class. You know what I mean? Like somewhere where people can come in and practice with the stick. And a lot of I'm friends with some CrossFit coaches and they're like really nice people and they actually shared that meme and they were like, totally agree. Because there are some coaches who are like, yeah, we'll put you in the class and give them a barbell, even though they haven't done it. But there are some coaches who do like, they'll see someone with problems, give them a stick.
Yeah.
That's cool. But like, I think it's wicked important. And
Yeah.
this may be biased because I'm a strength coach.
Yeah.
And I'm like a perfectionist with some stuff. Like, I think it's really important to take the time with the person you are asking, the human being you are asking to lift or throw a fucking at least 45-pound bar over their head and catch it in a deep squat. You need to develop prerequisites first.
Yeah, like
And
lots of prerequisites.
I've had clients who come in and they're like, oh yeah, I tried a CrossFit class. I loved it. I felt like a badass. And then they progress, but they progress too fast. And then, 3 months into it, what once felt like really good, they see other people throwing around like 200 pounds over their head, 500, maybe not 500 pounds, but like a lot of weight over their head and like doing cool shit with it. They're like, oh, why can't I do that? So they start putting more weight up on their bar and the form starts to go a little bit and they don't have the attention there to be like, hey, you're not ready for that just yet. They could be turning their head for the 3 reps that you're doing that. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's where the flaw in CrossFit and, some other group classes are.
Yeah, like group classes in general.
But especially CrossFit, because it's like, hey, do these stupid fucking pull-ups. I'm going to go over here and watch this other guy.
Don't bust your teeth on these pull-ups.
Yeah. And like, try not to rip your shoulder out of your fucking socket doing these pull-ups.
I watching the kipping pull-ups is so scary to me.
And on top of that, a lot of the movements are just mad goofy. Like, what are those kipping pull-ups? That makes no fucking sense.
Yeah, like what are we doing here? Why is that? I guess because it's like CrossFit, I've heard, is supposed to be like advertised as like,
functional.
Yeah, like quote functional. And then, but they like
functional about that.
Yeah, I don't know. They think it's like, because if you were out in the wild trying to get up on a tree, I'm like, all right, stop. Like you're already, you lost me already. Cause I don't who's doing
America's
that, dude.
fucking doing that.
Yeah, dude, no one. Okay, great. Functional for no human being, Awesome. Yeah, great. So, glad that's in there.
Functional is a wide fucking term and like super debated upon in like the fitness industry. Cause functional exercises could be anything. People say like squatting and lunging are functional.
Right.
Which they pretty much are.
Yeah.
But like, are fucking, you got to be realistic with what's functional. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like what's like legitimately helping everyone's function.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's the big fucking key in the word is function.
Yeah.
So if you're a nurse or a dermatologist or a fucking like a dental hygienist who is over somebody's face cleaning shit, do you need the ability to do a fucking kipping pull-up?
No.
Not necessarily. When are you going to do that shit?
Yeah.
Or a clean and jerk?
Yeah.
No.
Nope.
It's cool.
Yeah, it looks cool.
It's totally
if you can do it right.
Wicked cool if you do it right. But like, if we're talking about functional, that's not functional.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think like you're right. That does kind of the term functional does get tossed around a lot.
Yeah.
And I think like functional should just be improving your daily function. So like for a lot of people, that's like
putting on a shoe.
Yeah, putting on a shoe. Like, and like even just like having proper posture.
Yeah.
And people forget that like all you have to do, and this sounds very simple, but it's very hard, is develop the proper upper back muscles to pull your shoulders back naturally so that you don't have to think about doing that.
Squatting.
Which is, I'm so glad that there was that fad for a while with the whole like posture correcting things where they like, it's like a big old like strap that you wrap around, you tie it tight and it pulls your shoulders back. I'm like, oh great. So now we're putting a cast on people's problem and we're just going to make the problem worse. Great.
Like the knee brace.
Yeah. It's the same thing. And so like I'm
wearing a belt your entire fucking exercise.
Yeah, dude. Hold up. Let me go do some bicep curls with this belt on.
But that's like, that's big. I agree. But what do you think? Any other sand?
There's probably other things that I'm not quite thinking about. I mean, I guess like getting really good at accessory lifts. Like accessory lifts are like really nice to get good at. Like, and I think that's like,
cardio.
Yeah, cardio.
Like cardio is good. Like, and to those who follow me on Instagram, they probably think that I'm like a
anti-cardio person.
Anti-cardio. I hate cardio. I don't. I like cardio. I hike frequently. I walk frequently.
Yeah.
I don't like running. I'll make that fucking clear.
Yeah.
But I like hiking. I like walking. Swimming.
Yeah.
Anything else.
Yeah.
Biking. Just cardio is super high impact. Do you need like the reason why I throw cardio into the mix, it might not be sand. It might be a small rock.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but I think it's important to mention.
Yeah, I agree.
Because it's important. You know, cardiovascular health is important.
Yeah,
if people have heart issues, that would be a really good thing to add into someone. Respiratory issues, like cardio is a good idea.
Yeah.
But like for people who are like exercise is just cardio and fat loss is just cardio.
You're right.
There's a reason I didn't make it a big rock. You know, like it's cool, but it's not. It doesn't give you the most bang for your buck. It gives you respiratory health, cardiovascular health. It does prohibit not prohibit, but inhibit cardio. Fucking calorie burn.
Yeah, right.
So you burn calories with it.
Yeah.
But comparatively to strength training, doesn't even come close.
Yeah.
Like with calorie burn, what it does for your body, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. I mean, I think like, you know, you might be able to burn more calories in a given amount of time with just cardio, but like the value that you get from strength training is more than just the calories that you burn.
Definitely.
It's the muscular development. It's the helping problems that you have. It's the
getting physically strong
and making strong bones. And like, so there's just, to me, for sure, resistance training over cardio, but cardio is definitely helpful, especially if you're trying to get to some sort of caloric balance, and cardio can help you get there. Like that's great.
Yeah.
But I don't really.
For as it's, we don't even have to make it that much more complicated, dude, because it really is that simple. You know, like if we're talking about the big rocks, the little rocks, and then the sand, that's not a lot of stuff. What is that? Like 9 things?
Yeah.
You know, that's not a lot of stuff. Is it a lot of stuff over a long period of time? Or
yes.
You know, like it's a lot of stuff that you got to focus on.
Especially if you're coming from nowhere. If you're coming from a place of like pure ignorance, not ignorance in a bad way, but just simply not knowing about it.
Exactly.
Then it's like, it's seemingly challenging, but it's going back to that first thing that we mentioned, which is just approaching one thing at a time, getting really good at that to the point where you're not even thinking about it, and then adding something else in.
Exactly. And then once you're done with that, then you add the smaller things in.
Yeah.
So like if you're going into this completely new and you're like, okay, don't start doing like HIIT and cardio and CrossFit and shit like that.
Yeah.
Start off with learning how to strength train, learning how to feed yourself, making sure that you get at least 8 to 9 hours of sleep per night.
Yeah.
And that's like really what it is. Take one step at a time.
Yeah.
Over the long run, it's going to take a lot of work. Yeah. But if you think of it as the long game, you're not going to get discouraged when you don't like make immediate progress. It does take some time.
It does. And it's that whole thing where it's like, you know, working out takes like years to even learn, to think about, to do, and don't think about trying to rush the process, which is kind of like what I see on TikTok with like people talking about trend and talking about like, you know, designer drugs and SARMs and all these things where they think like, oh, I've been working out for 3 years, so I'm genetically maxed out because I heard this thing on YouTube that said after 3 years of consistent lifting, you're not going to get any bigger, which is fucking bullshit, dude. I'm like, in like
if you're lifting the same weight for 3 years, that'll happen.
Yeah.
But if you're serious and you consistently push yourself and you challenge yourself, that is bullshit.
Dude, and the thing is I hear it from like major channels. Like I've heard it even on like More Plates, More Dates, where where he'll say, but like it's not like he'll say like for sure after 3 years, like that's all your genetic potential. But I think he makes that limit seem like it's like, okay, only after a few years, that's as big as you're ever going to get. And that's as strong as you're ever going to get. And I think that there's a huge missing component where it's like people train for 3 years and suck for a very long time. And even with 3 years of super really dedicated training, like, and it's like everything's a fine-tooth comb and you've worked it all out, the macros and the training and everything. 3 years, I still feel like is too short of a time to just be like, well, that's my genetic limit. That's all I can do. No, so now I got to go on steroids because on TikTok, you know, the guy that told me to use Tren, you know.
Right. And if you said you've been training for 9 years.
Yeah.
If you started if you stopped 6 years ago, like, would you be anywhere close to where you are now?
Oh, no.
Fuck no.
Not at all.
And Tren's not going to help you get there. You know what I mean? Trent is just going to, I do not know anything about fucking steroids.
Yeah. I mean, like, I will say, like, yeah, of course, like, if you use gear, like, it will help you.
But the titties.
Yeah. Dude, you're looking at so many side effects and, like, shutting down your natural testosterone. Like, oh, yeah, you can PCT and everything's going to be fine. But by the way, I'm going to have to go on HRT when I'm 30.
Yeah. And you're going to lose your hair.
Yeah. You're going to lose your hair. It's like all this stuff. And I'm like, it's not worth it. It's not. I mean, unless it is to you for some reason, like you have to be that big.
Yeah.
But my caution to people that really want to get into steroids and stuff is that like wait until you've really been training for a long time.
You've got to like
your form is perfect. You've mastered nutrition.
And you've hit a plateau.
I mean a hard plateau. And the thing is people will do the same training without a trainer, with no guidance, have no understanding of how to change up their routine at all, and be like, oh, this is all I can do.
Yeah.
And then so they think like they need to push to the gear side of things without realizing like, oh, I've been just training like a bodybuilder, doing 3 sets of 12 by 15 for every exercise for every day for 2-3 years. This must be my maximum potential.
Right.
Not realizing like, oh, if I changed this up.
They never tried power training. They never tried strength training.
They never even tried changing up the tempo.
Yeah, exactly. So like that's what we're talking about, like starting with the big rocks and then going up, because you need to like master it all.
Yeah.
And once you've mastered it all and you feel as though there is like really no other way for you to go, that is when you can start to do your research on steroids, supplements.
Yeah.
Like
I would put supplements before steroids, but
supplements, steroids, even fucking worse. Supplements. But don't, if you're lifting weights for like 2 years and you've only ever did hypertrophy, which is like 12, maybe 15 reps.
Whatever
and then
it is.
You never ever did power training or strength training, and you sleep like shit and you eat like shit.
Yeah.
That like fixing all of that is going to give you the result that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Anything further than that, do your research, because I don't know anything. Don't take my word for it.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is like I just get so concerned because I see kids like looking at these TikToks, and there's like kids that are like 19 that have been lifting for like barely freaking 2 years.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, time to sauce up. And I'm like, all right, dude, but like, you kind of look weird. I've seen these kids where like they have these huge biceps.
No legs.
No legs. No, like like their chest is like an odd shape, and like they're like
doesn't look good.
It's because they're getting accelerated growth with like accelerated muscle growth with bad form,
and only doing like push-ups and fucking bicep curls.
Yeah, and like bench bicep curls. Like maybe they squat like once a week. They're always doing bro splits. Like they're never like experimenting with full body routines or anything.
And
there
are those few that do great work. You know what I mean? They do good workouts and stuff.
Yeah, of course.
But that's like where you got to be.
Yeah.
If you want to, if you're doing great work and you're pushing yourself really hard, like that fucking kid, the strong ass Asian kid.
Oh yeah. Dude, I forget. I wish I could shout him out.
I forgot his name.
Yeah. I'll see if I can look it up.
But he is a monster. He is like 130 pounds, lifts like 600-700 pounds. Like if you wanted to do an aesthetic based thing, I think he has some leeway to take a little bit of test.
Yeah. Dude, this guy, we just got this guy on gear. No, but his name's Matt, but I don't have a last name, but his little _tortoise_snur.
Yeah.
But he is an absolute beast. The kid is like, I don't know, like 130 something pounds or something like that. All natural.
Pure strength. Now, this is like
deadlifting 655 pounds in his most recent post.
And at 130 pounds. That's it's crazy. But it's ridiculous. This is also like, if you're young and you're listening to this anywhere.
Yeah.
That's genetics.
Yeah.
Like that, like if you ever look this kid up, that is pure ass genetics.
And like look at this using his genetics properly. You know what I mean? Like
he's aware of them.
Yeah. He is very much aware that he is an outlier in human development.
He's strong as fuck.
Yeah. like it's just abnormally strong in such a great way.
But that's like, those are the type of people that you want to follow and like pay attention to. And like the big dudes on fucking TikTok, like yelling before picking up 8 plates, all trend out or whatever the hell they're taking.
Yeah.
And they look like a bag of fucking leather. Like they don't look good.
Yeah.
Don't take your advice from those guys just because they're like big.
Yeah,
you know
I know.
I mean? Like,
there's definitely a lot of that.
There's a lot of bad advice on TikTok along with some of the good advice. But being able to differentiate between the two is hard. But like if someone's talking about tren or fucking any type of steroid, and they sound like a fucking bro about it, maybe stay away from them.
Yeah, I know. Especially if you're so new to lifting. It's like, you really gotta like, it's just, I've just, I get it because there are people that do it and like quote safely.
Yeah.
I feel like you're at the end of the day, like you're abusing PEDs no matter what you're doing with
Dude, I
it.
thought about it. I'll be
Dude, of course, I've thought about it too, man. I've thought like, oh, why not? One little cycle, what's wrong with that?
Right.
Do a little PCT, get a little muscle hyperplasia, make some new muscle fibers while I'm at it. Then I can get bigger than I ever was. If I never took anything, of course, that's a thought. And I think a lot of guys think about that.
But it's also like, I think when people go into it, it's addicting. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like they see the gains and they're like, oh man, if I just keep on taking this,
another cycle.
Dude,
it's a problem. Like even when I was kind of talking to you about this earlier, but when I get really lean for, photo shoots or I'm just like feeling like it and I'm like in this wonderful space, to me, wonderful. It sucks like because I'm not eating a ton.
Yeah.
But I look in the mirror and like I constantly am shredded and I love that feeling. I'll gain just a little bit of fat because now I need to increase my calories for performance reasons. Right. And now I feel like I don't look as good and there's something wrong. And I used to be so in shape. And so I have to go through these mental battles with like being okay with getting a little bit like fatter, not like too fat, but like even just gaining a few pounds just so that I can perform better.
But you also understand like that's the way to do it long term.
Yeah.
Like that's normal. Yeah. When you go into a surplus to build muscle, weight gain is going to happen.
Yeah.
But weight gain can still come off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some people though, in the same situation, I imagine, like they go through the same thing and they're like, like I don't want to get like bigger fat wise. Maybe if I just take like a cycle, I'll just build some muscle and maintain my leanness.
Yeah, absolutely.
But be able to eat more, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a bad way to view it. The reason I don't take anything is because I'm not at that spot.
Yeah.
I've thought about it. I've done my research. For the most part, like I looked up Tren once.
Yeah.
So did I do my research? I fucking lied to you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But
I did my research.
I thought about it. I looked Tren up and then I was like, dude, that's not me.
Tren is so aggressive, by the way.
So
like if you know anything about steroids, Tren is so
I have
aggressive.
room to grow. Am I at my peak performance? Fuck no. You know what I mean? I feel great during my squats. When I go up in weight, I feel great.
I've been seeing some of your videos, dude. You're going up in weight like quite a bit, especially in that deadlift, man.
Dude, seriously bringing it up. But literally that's all been proper mobility. Making sure that I have enough food before my lifts. Making sure that I have enough recovery after my lifts.
Yeah.
If I wake up that day and I'm not feeling 100%, I'm not going to push myself in that lift. Yeah. Some people would be like, fucking beast mode.
Yep.
Alpha.
Yeah.
And just do it.
Yeah.
But like, I've never had anything good come from that.
Yeah.
So like, this is starting to sound like, I fucking tried Tren.
Yeah,
don't try Tren. But I'm just, I'm biased because I've never tried it. I don't think it's right for like a lot of these young kids to try it. I think if you're gonna try it, do your research, be safe with it, make sure that you're at a point where you're available to try it. Like don't just like feel discouraged after 2 years of never switching your workouts up and take fucking Tren.
Yeah, exactly. Like jumping on it thinking you absolutely need it when in reality, like you really are better off like never touching the stuff. If you really think about it,
just take the fucking time.
Yeah,
like that in reality, we talked about like 20 minutes about Tren.
Yeah.
But the real shit here is like work fucking hard for a long time.
Hard. Yeah. And expect that it's going to take a while.
It's going to take a while. You will get to where you want to be, wherever it is.
Time's going to pass no matter what.
But be patient because you could either be 40 and be saggy now because you were really ripped in your 20s and you lost it and now you have no hair.
Yeah.
And now you've got like a really shitty mustache or something.
Yeah.
Do you want to be there or do you want to feel really healthy when you're 40s, head full of hair?
Yeah. So that is very genetic too, the hair thing.
The hair thing with like the Tren?
No, just like in general, like, like some people just going to lose their hair like no matter what. But I know what you're getting at. Like you're saying,
you're
like,
going to get there eventually.
Yeah, right.
With Tren or not.
Yeah.
But like eventually you're going to
I'm going to fucking
stop talking.
With the Tren bologna sandwich or not, dude, you will get there.
It might take you 10 years. It might not.
Yeah. But I think the point is too, is just that, it is going to take time. Time's going to pass by no matter what. You might as well be consistent. It's going to be healthy for you regardless. Like resistance training, keeping track of what you're eating, it's all going to be good for you. And I almost want to talk about something else so we're not just ending on trend, but I'm not really sure if there's anything else I want to cover. Unless there's something that...
I think that was in the notes that we end with trend.
End
with the fitness fanatic. Did we already do that?
Yeah, I think we kind of did. I think I really wanted to just like, have something out there for the fitness fanatics, but we kind of like called it, which is, I think, like, if we're going to sort of wrap it up, then like people that are like hyper obsessed with like having to be like, and I know these people, a lot of women, a lot of guys that like just really feel as though if they aren't like sprinting when they go for a run, then it's like a waste of their time. Or if they didn't work out 6 days that week, then like something's wrong with them.
Right.
And when in reality, sometimes even for myself, like coming off of a 6 day a week routine and going to a 3 day a week routine, you would think that I would like all of a sudden like gain a ton of fat and like look worse or something. But I've actually had like wonderful results from that. And you know what the main one is not being in pain. Because sometimes when you're exercising all the time, you're like, being a lot of stress, and you're maybe under recovering. Yep. Even if you're eating well, and even if you're getting sleep well, like after a while, repetitive motions and whatnot, can kind of wear on you. And like being fatigued, you might have worse form, which is something that does happen to me. Even as advanced of a lifter as I am, I'm not invulnerable to like being tired and like kind of like, maybe my squat wasn't perfect today, and then like, what's nice about the 3 day a week routine is it's like I'm recovering great.
Yep.
I'm feeling better. I have a little bit more energy because I'm not like absolutely taxing my central nervous system all the time.
Exactly. You took a day off. So like now that you had that rest, you can go back and hit it just as hard as you did the 2 days before.
Right. But with better recovery.
Right. And that doesn't always happen. And like the bro split type thing where like you do like back and biceps one day and then for some fucking reason legs has its own day.
Yeah.
Legs are just the legs.
Yeah, just the legs one day.
You may be doing another body part, but your body is still fucking moving. You know, you're not resting. You're not recovering.
Yeah.
Your body is working. Your body is like destroying tissue, rebuilding it.
Yeah.
So like having like a 3 day a week type thing allows for better rest.
Yeah.
If you're a fitness fanatic and you think that, like a 5 day a week thing or 6 days a week or 7 days a week, or you need active rest, I'd say just take a break, take a step back. Yeah. And like once you understand and realize, because a lot of this stuff that we talked about today is like people just like not knowing.
Yeah.
People thinking that like 5, 6, 7 days a week is what you need to do. Take 2 to 3 days off, work out 3 days a week, and then come back to us in 2 to 3 months.
Yeah. It's not like you have to do nothing on those other days. Like you can very easily just go on a walk, go on a hike.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mobility work. I actually, in my current program, the way that it's structured is Monday, Wednesday, Friday are my main lifting days. And Tuesday and Wednesday and Saturday, I do mobility for the most part, which is very nice because it's forcing me to do the things that are actually going to help me recover and lift better. Yeah. But now they're programmed into less taxing days. So I'm actually recovering really nicely.
Yeah. And that brings us back to the mobility thing. Yeah. Taking care of your body on your off days is going to help you better perform on your on days.
Yeah.
So like if you're working on your ankle mobility and your hip mobility before another squat, you go into that squat the next day feeling fresh.
Yeah.
Your hips are feeling good. Your ankles are feeling good. You might even do better that time.
Yeah.
So like taking the time to take a step back from like hammering and demanding from your body to really give back to your body and help it along is key. Especially like when you are that type A personality who loves to go out and like loves to do it. And like, I'm going to take an active rest, but in reality, I'm running 15 miles.
Or I'm like, I'm just back in the gym and I'm just working out.
Yeah.
Again. It's just a full body day. Again.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
active
full body
rest.
Day. Yeah.
Anyways, I'm going to do everything I'm gonna really hard all the time. Yeah.
So like you can still do something that is constructive and healthy because I get that. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
But you don't need to do it in a way that is like constant stress on the body. You can take rest and like go for a quick walk. You know, if you're feeling mad burnt out at the gym, like, you know, type A personalities, they typically don't admit that they feel burnt out.
Yes. Right.
But if you're feeling burnt out at the gym, like you're not making enough progress, or you're getting constantly fatigued, or like you're leaving and you're feeling wicked tired.
Yeah.
Maybe just take a day where like you don't do jack. You just sit down, you lay down, watch a movie.
Yeah.
Like,
something.
Yeah,
something that's
relax.
like, go outside and just like.
Or take a long ass nap or something. Like literally stuff like that.
Yeah, for real.
To give your body time to recover and rejuvenate itself. It's so
goes
big.
back to that mental aspect too.
Nobody pays attention to that. And like when you say it, people are like, oh yeah, whatever, crunchy granola fucking trainer.
Yeah.
I'm like, dead serious. I'm like, get good sleep. I tell my clients all the time, get fucking good sleep. How are your energy levels? Make sure that like by the end of the workout, you don't feel like you're fucking dead. Like those types of things really matter because it's a long-term fucking game.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
it should be a forever thing. You
It's a
should be
forever
doing
thing.
it until you die, pretty much.
Can you imagine going to the gym 6-7 days a week for 1.5, maybe 2 hours for the rest of your goddamn life?
Yeah.
No.
If it's a no, and it's not like there isn't a time and a place for that.
Right.
Like maybe there is.
But like, you're going to reach a point where you're like, I'm getting tired of this.
Yeah. Like I need to dial it back. And it's
This
totally
is
cool to dial it
taking
back.
over my life.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's good to have fitness a part of your life. And it's good to have fitness a part of your routine. But when it starts to take precedent over other things, like you can't fucking go hang out with your friends because you have all of these gym dates. Like, oh, that Saturday is the day that I go to the gym, bro.
Yeah.
I cannot go to your fucking bachelor party.
Oh, there's no way I can go to the beach in the morning because I like to work out in the morning.
Right.
And if I go to the beach with you guys, then I'm going to miss my workout.
Take
if
a
I miss
break.
my workout, you know.
That's it.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good spot to end that.
Yeah. Dude, it was actually, that was a lot of fun. I had a ton of fun talking about this stuff. So we'll have to get together again maybe when Adam's here. I don't know what the setup will look like. Maybe less crazy than this. We'll probably have to figure something out for that. But
I miss out.
Yeah. Sweet, dude. I will, we're going to pause this off. Thanks so much for coming, and we'll have you on again.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for listening to Bone Apple Tea. If you like the show, please give us a follow, like, comment, subscribe, whatever it is. Tell your friends about it. And, make sure to follow us on Instagram. That's Bone Apple Tea, BoneAppleTeaV on Instagram. Thanks so much.